So today I want to make the case that we should teach to the heart in our public education system and in our higher education system. Because when we teach to the heart, the mind follows. Now this is based on research I've conducted with high school students, students that have dropped out of high school or that have been pushed out of high school, and working with college students over the last decade. What I have found is that effective teaching is effective teaching. That when we connect as teachers, educators, lecturers, instructors, mentors, to the people that we are working with as students, that when we connect with them in an emotional way, in a compassionate way, it opens up avenues for them to learn in an academic way. And too often in our culture, we separate the mind and the body, emotion with academic rigor. And we say, well, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to teach you some math. But why can't both be the case? That we connect with you and then teach you those very difficult, rigorous topics and subjects. Neuroscientists have studied this, and they have found that those same cognitive processes in the brain that are responsible for the learning that is rewarded in our education system, memory, this academic rigor, that it's all connected in the same ways to the processes, cognitive processes for emotion. It's all in the same part of the brain. So what neuroscientists say is, we feel, therefore we learn. Now I became engaged with this kind of work early on. Actually, I was just finishing high school when I began to become curious about what it means to have a connection with your teacher, with your mentor, with authority figures. And the reason is because as a high school student, well, I wasn't the best student. In this image, there's a cop, a police officer, dragging me away in my school hallway because I've been involved in what's considered a gang fight. You see, as a high school student, I dropped out of high school twice. I ended up in juvie, being incarcerated, and on probation. And it wasn't until my teacher stepped in to reach out to me with compassion, with empathy, with emotional intelligence. She was a computer science teacher, and for an entire semester, she did not talk to me about any kind of computer coding or anything to do with computers. She talked to me about how much she believed in me. She talked to me about how she could see in me a better future, even though I had lost hope in myself. She talked to me about how she wanted me to create a 10-year plan for myself, even though I lived life not even knowing if I would make it to my 18th birthday. This is the kind of belief that this teacher had for me. And then she connected me with college student mentors. And these college students who were trying to help kids in the inner city who were less privileged than them showed up and tried to tutor me. And I looked at them and I said, what's a nerd got to teach me? I gave them all kinds of attitude because I didn't believe that I could be like them one day. I didn't believe that I could learn like them. But my teacher and these students continued to connect with me with empathy, with compassion, and over time, with their help and with my hard work, I graduated from high school on time and with my class. And as I'm getting ready to graduate, the college students come up to me and they say, hey, have you thought about college? College, me? Nah, I have a high school diploma. My mom, she has a 3rd grade education. So for me to have a high school diploma, I'm on top of the world. A few of them looked at me, asked me what I wanted in my life. itemized a monthly budget for me for the future, paying for a mortgage, a car payment for a nice car, paying for my bills. How many kids did you want? I want a few kids. Okay, this is what it's going to cost you on a yearly basis. Really connecting with me in a compassionate way. So they convinced me that maybe I should apply to college. And I applied, and a few weeks later, I get a letter. Congratulations, you've been admitted to California State University. I couldn't believe my eyes. And right below, the letter said, you've been admitted under probationary status. I said, probation? I'm already on probation. That don't matter. But they weren't talking about probation like some guy following you around with a can of mace. They were talking about academic probation. None of you in here would know about it because you're UC Santa Barbara students. You just don't get academic probation here. Well, I started college on academic probation. If you get a C or below, you get kicked out because they're giving you a second chance. And that is what I want to talk about. That we should provide individuals that compassion, that empathy, that emotional connection to allow them that opportunity to have that second chance. That's what my teacher did for me, and that's what my college eventually did for me with the help of my college student mentors. Now, because of my teacher and my mentors, I've become a teacher. I work with college students, high school students, students that have left school. You see, my teacher believed in me so much that she tricked me into believing in myself. I imagine an education system that does this for our students, for every student, the high achiever, the low achiever, the motivated one, the unmotivated one. What if we all believed in our students so much that they eventually believe themselves that they can do whatever they want to do in life? But unfortunately, our system is based on these ideas that we should not befriend or be compassionate or emotionally connected to our students. I've run across teachers around the country when I conduct professional development, and they'll say to me, I'm not their friend, I'm their teacher. I'm not a social worker, I'm a teacher. I don't want to be too soft, or else they will run all over me. As if to say that connecting compassionately with our students means, by default, that they'll take advantage of our kindness. My teacher would say instead, I don't teach subjects, I teach students. She would say, I teach students to believe in themselves so that they can accomplish the unbelievable. Now let me give you a word of caution here. And also a caveat, that teaching students to believe in themselves is not the same as teaching people to be narcissistic, self-centered, right, or overly confident. As is the case in some of these images I will show you of this individual that's taking selfies of himself every time he talks to an audience. Hold on one second. Okay. Now, I didn't learn about selfies until recently. And I learned it from you, the millennial generation. Now, what's the problem with the millennial generation? It's all about me, me, me. My phone, I'm trying to teach you something in lecture, and you're on your phone, and you're ignoring me. What kind of connection can I make with you if you're ignoring me? But see, we got it all wrong. Politicians, the education system, the media, we got it all wrong. There's even authors that call you the dumbest generation. How you've been stupefied by social media. Your generation, meaning the generation born from 1980 to 2000. Now, there's a little bit of a contradiction here. And the contradiction is this, that in national surveys or in local studies, we're finding that your generation craves emotional connection, that your generation actually empathizes in a larger, deeper way than former generations. Let me give you some examples. One of my studies, one of the studies we've conducted of 2,000 high school students, shows that students who report higher emotional support from teachers also report a higher desire to go to a four-year college. But if you have a lower connection to your teacher, emotional connection, you're going to report a lower desire to go to a four-year college. Now, in terms of the population in general, this idea of connections with friends, relationships with friends. You see that in your generation, the bar grows. You're the most connected to your friends. What about social issues, like empathizing with other populations who have been marginalized? Well, look at same-sex marriage support. Your generation is more in support of same-sex marriage than other generations. And finally, when you're asked, do you want to have an impact on society? Is that important to you when you get a job, when you get an education? You say yes. That's very important. Your generation, the bar just grows. Now, I believe your generation is a generation that is globally connected. So maybe you are on your phone, and still, I don't want you to be on your phone, but maybe you're on your phone because you're making an emotional connection that has meaning to try to make a difference. So we are not teaching the Wolf of Wall Street generation here, folks. A generation that's all about getting paid no matter who you have to trample over. We are teaching the Tom's generation, a generation that is trying to find creative ways to make a difference in the world. So, the great French historian de Tocqueville says in the 1800s, after he visits America, in democracy, each generation is a new people. And so each generation we have to pay special attention to within our education system to try to understand how we can best educate that generation. And I think we have a mismatch where we're trying to teach a group of people that is not emotionally connected. But instead, we're finding that you, in your generation, millennial generation, there's a lot of emotional connection and a need, a craving for more emotional support. So I say, let's connect to the heart. Let's teach to the heart, because we know that the mind will follow. Thank you.